I
Do you
don't
want
know
to?
even what to say right now. That was incredible. You guys, every time we do a podcast, we have a plan, right? Because we're such, well, Sky is very organized and creates this beautiful plan. Well, I mean, all right, in this way, he's organized and he creates this plan. And, we work together to come up with like, how is it going to flow? And it didn't exactly follow the plan because it was better. It was unbelievable.
Don't panic. It's organic.
Yes.
I also find this with artists that they tend to shake the plan up. I mean, that's kind of their
Hmm.
job in society,
Yes.
right? Is to sort of like hold a mirror up to us and shake things up and be like, the plan is what's getting you in the way of
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
And the way even the nature of music, art, dance, anything is all about disruption,
Hmm.
really,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
What did you think? She showed us her song that it's coming out that hasn't even been released. She gave that to
That
us.
song. I mean, I actually wrote down portions of the lyrics that like because I'm a dork. Anyway,
Oh, we're nerds. Nerds are welcome here. Keep your weird t-shirt coming soon.
well, I'm certainly keeping and amplifying my weird. But I mean, some of the things that she said, like, my heart keeps breaking but wants to stay alive. I mean, that absolutely encapsulates depression, right? I mean, everyone who's ever felt that despair and loss, where I have wanted my heart to just stop, just like stop. Just this is too much and I can't carry it, you know? Um, but it keeps going.
Oh gosh,
And
and she
I can
paints
too.
the
And I
way she
can too.
paints pictures too with that sort of
Yes.
to build off of that, Beth. Like she was talking about the lonely, lamp post,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
the dark, like this. There were so many times in my own life that I have been there in that scene she was picturing where I felt so alone and so like I did not want to exist anymore, like a heart
Mm-hmm.
wanting to stop, like you said.
Hmm.
And somehow we're still here doing this podcast right now. So
That's right.
guys, we just got off this conversation with Charlotte Martin. She has been, 2 decades of making music. She's a music teacher, a mom, a fantastic songwriter and singer.
Mm-hmm.
She's going on tour again. She just released her latest EP right now, and we got to hear Atlantis. Do you want to
Mm.
pack that for just 2 seconds as a teaser? Like, what did you think about Atlantis, musically and lyrically and thematically? There we go. That's
So
three.
you just basically want me to do a complete like breakdown thesis of this whole song. No problem.
Well, I mean, it's the EP Knives and Bouquets just came out. It just came out like literally like 2 weeks ago. We have front row seats here. I think we deserve to give our audience a little bit of a teaser of like what we just heard so they can jump on this podcast immediately.
One thing about Charlotte is she is an absolutely astonishing musician. And this came up in our conversation. We discussed that a lot of the musicians that exist today, their music is great. It's got a great bop. You like to listen to it. It's great to run to, whatever. But something about her music is that she, instead of hitting the same three chords, like she said, she'll invert it. She'll change it up. She'll add in, some modulations here and there. And those modulations and those changes in depth and in tone create a totally different emotion. Actually a range of emotions. You can go through all of them in one song, which you sort of do with Atlantis. And we talked about how that song in particular can have such a varied meaning for different people and their different circumstances in life. So for her, it described her own personal vulnerable moment when she was experiencing divorce and loss and separation and fear. But she talked about a friend who, to her, it represented, the fear that there won't be a world for her to raise a family in, that it's global
That's right.
warming and climate change and,
And we love a good story of Atlantis because we are kind of, well,
like
I like
it's
to
kind of
dabble in the I
mystic
like to
and
dabble in
kind
the
of,
esoteric and the,
yeah,
sort
yeah.
of the occult. So for all
Hmm.
those out there who are also in dabbling in sort of like the mysticism, if you will,
Well, even in classical, I mean, it's a part of classical history, and Plato and his writings. So,
absolutely. And so, Atlantis sunk to the bottom of the ocean. The story is that they became too powerful in technology, and there was like a war between the left side and the right side of the brain, which seems very resonates, to use the sound of science word, resonates with our time. The two, the left sort of being the more heart centered, approach, and the right being the more logical approach. And of course, apparently, the story of Atlantis, the original story, was these two factions. Um, they were at the height of their power in Atlantis, and because of this division, the power itself as a whole imploded the island. So the
Yeah.
idea is that if you can't stay together as a whole, we're going to sink. If we're on a boat, planet ship Earth, and we
Spaceship Earth.
thank you. Did I say planet ship Earth? Like, thank you. Spaceship Earth,
You're
we
ready.
obviously are trying to row in the same direction. If we got people rowing in all different directions and like putting holes in the boat and trying to tear the boat apart, we're not going to make it very far. So, sound of its time, song of its time.
And we see it
um
everywhere. I mean, I know that you're in the Netherlands. Maybe this is kind of present everywhere, but I know in the United States, there's so much division. And maybe it's always existed. To me,
it's
it
here
feels
too. Yeah,
very
it's here too.
intense.
Yeah.
Yeah. This kind of pull between right and left and different
Hearts and
belief
minds, right?
systems,
People who are
hearts
like
and minds.
the
Yeah.
minds. There's a bunch of patriarchal mind hierarchy, top down
Mhm.
people who are like, this is right and wrong. This is what has to happen. We want to live in a white picket fence community with only white people, straight people, males who run everything. I mean, there's like a totally
Mhm.
narrative that's a very logical narrative. It's gotten us to where we are. That progress, that sort of patriarchal system has gotten us to this where we are now. So thank you. And there seems to be a heart now rising at this time. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? Because there seems to be
Well,
people who are,
just that
even
the
in your
division.
organization of Mormonism, that's starting to happen. There's an evolution of heart coming. Like, how do we love one another beyond the fact that, yeah, my mind is saying you do really weird things I don't can't even relate with, but my heart is like, you're a fellow organism and I share this planet with you. So,
I feel like those kinds of divisions don't center, I talk about this all the time with you. I don't think that it centers the value of life the way that it should. And I'm talking about really broadly, like you said, I'm talking about me being able to still have a love and respect for people who are different than I am and vice versa, and to make sure that there's room for everybody in the way that they are and the way that they believe. Um, that respects one another, It
yeah,
feels like without that basic bedrock principle, really being full of heart and love and maybe even charity, if I can go that far, we can't be successful. We can't continue on the way we are. I mean, it's very destructive. It's really
it's
destructive.
it's
So
so scary because I mean, look at us. We're so powerful. We just invented AI. We might have invented a new consciousness that represents our collective intelligence. So, you know, we're struggling with the story of Atlantis, which was the story of the height of their power, the height of any civilization, the Mayans, any lost civilization that has come and gone seems to have this cycle of you get to this super powerful place. I mean, we're going to space, we're looking inside the cells, we are incredibly powerful. That power to me is beauty. Beauty and power, I think, are synonymous to me in this way because I think something that's beautiful takes you outside of the norm. If you look at a beautiful mountain or a beautiful scenery or a beautiful lake, it connects you with, and this is, thank God, Perch, my mentor, and may he rise in power and rest in peace, gave me a different lens of beauty because I always thought beauty was a tangible thing, like in like I'm attracted to somebody or like in
mm,
modeling, right?
mm.
But what I realized through sculpture, art, architecture, things that he was interested in, he said, beauty takes you outside of yourself for a moment where you enter like this whole being, the wholeness of your what is possible. This is the beauty and power that's, there's power in beauty. This is quoted across all kinds
Mhm.
of philosophers. So my thing is that we are at the most beautiful moment in our history with so much possibility to solve problems, and yet we're sinking like Atlantis.
We
Like,
are, but I have to say that I really believe this, that I think this can change on a little tiny personal small community level. So I want to give an example. I work at a school, I work in the office, elementary kids. And the other day, the end of the school day had come and gone, and there was a parent who'd been there to have a meeting for a child who was really struggling. And um, I think it was difficult. The meeting was probably difficult for her. And I was in the office with another teacher, and this mom just started to cry because she was overwhelmed with, my kid has all these problems and I don't know what to do about it. And she was kind of a younger mom. She obviously didn't have a lot of experience. So this other teacher and I, both who are a little bit farther down the mom road, we just was encouraging her. This other teacher just swept in and gave her this huge hug. We're strangers to this woman, but in that moment, we were all linked because even though we were all very different, um, in the end of the day, we have that thing that we can connect about, right? Which is the love of our children and the wish that they be happy. And that's what it all comes back down to, is this connection between us. And this podcast about sound, that's a way that we connect. You felt it. I felt it. You go to a concert, or if you've been to like a religious
Yeah.
service, a lot of times there's music and wow, you feel the
Hymns,
holiness. You feel the
totally.
holiness and the wholeness during the music more than anything else.
It's
That's when
true.
you can feel it.
Even in yoga, I mean, there's so many times that we get to the place where we just start oming together. Or if you've done any, I mean, basically when kids go to a rave or a festival, they say they come back and they always say it was a spiritual experience.
Hmm.
Because if you look at them, if you go or look at them, I'm not sure which spectrum you're on, who's listening, but if you actually go or listen, you see that everyone's working together in perfect
Hmm.
harmony.
Hmm.
They're all on the same
They're
wavelength.
unified.
They're
Yeah. Hmm.
unified, which brings
Hmm.
us back to our stinger, of course, which was that this vibration unifies us somehow. It also expresses, it's like what emotions sound like. And so often, like Brene Brown's work, we don't have the words for emotion. Like I may be angry, but there are 15 variations and flavors and colors and of anger, So
I have to
communication.
say, when you said that, I thought there's this hymn that I like, and it has a line that says, um, express the heart too full to speak in one
Mm,
exaltant hymn. And that's like Charlotte did that today.
totally.
She put music to an emotion and made a way to express it that could not be expressed any other way.
And poetry, that's
Hmm.
one thing I took from Oxford recently too. We had Phillida, big shout out to her. She basically gave us a Shakespeare lesson in one of these days. And just language itself, which will have Mihao on the show later in season 3. He's going to unpack what language is, what communication is, how we learn from language, why it can be misinterpreted. Sound somehow, our music somehow gets to the heart of the matter beyond the language, right? I mean, it seems to be like a
Hmm.
different language in its own. I don't know, I don't even know how to express it, but thank you so much everyone for who's joined us on this journey so far. Beth, it was really amazing. It was a radically different show for us today. We've never had a live guest playing music for us. So
We should do that more often. That was fantastic.
that was fantastic.
Very
But no,
emotional.
it's not every day you get someone like Charlotte Martin on your show who can, you know what I mean? Because we're really trying to showcase the movers, shakers, and visionary makers, right?
Hmm.
That's the brand of our community and what we're trying to sort of bring into the world for transformation and not just change. But she's a very different artist, right?
Yeah.
Like she's not like your Taylor Swift, who's also amazing, and there's no comparative of like what's good or better or bad, but she's stayed true to her
Hmm.
craft and her
Hmm.
magic, and her soul just comes out in those keys and those chords. It's just incredible, and we feel it. So
It's magical.
it
It's
is
magical.
magical. You want to bring us
Mhm.
out for this intro to this topic? You want to say something before we go? I can use it as sting or nothing. You anything on your mind for the audience?
No,
It's
I'm
like
just being
speechless.
honest.
No, that's
I am
perfect.
an
I can
empty
kind
vessel at this point. Okay, I've been completely drained in the best possible sense. Um,
so
no,
good.
you know how much I love music. Well, I will share. Yes, I will, because I haven't yet. Well, you know that when I was pretty young, I had a little revelation of my own, and it was that music is a balm to the soul, a healer to the body, and a revelation to the mind. And yes,
Mic drop.
can't improve on that.
We'll
Can't
we'll
improve on
we'll
that.
we'll open with that for sure on this trailer. Yeah. All right, Beth, that's it for us, I guess. We had an incredible episode. I'm going to stop recording now.